Hey guys, so I'm back from Vegas. There were a lot of cool things to see there, even though it's overall kind of a tacky, ugly city. And there were a lot of really expensive stores with cool things to buy. I bought these. So I started making a video before I left and kind of didn't finish it, got confused, forgot what I was doing. Went to the States, came back, and remembered. So I'm looking at my notes, and I'm going to now finish the video so I can share my thoughts with you guys. Alright, this one is about Midrash. Midrash is a tool of interpretation, this is a quote, which assumes that every word, letter, and even stroke of the pen in the Torah has meaning. Midrash Agada focuses on biblical narratives. Midrash Halakha interprets legal passages. In modern times, Midrash can include any retellings, additions, or twists on Torah stories. Another quote. In fan fiction, writers are those who use characters and situations already created by other writers in order to develop their personal and preferred views of the story. Alright, so the reason I put those two concepts together is because they're kind of the same thing, a little bit different. Midrash is like, back in the day, someone would be reading scripture, part of the text would stand out to them. They'd see something that was kind of like on its own, like what looked like a random little statement or character that didn't have anything more about it, and they'd think, well, nothing in scripture is insignificant, so there must be more to it. So they might go to other parts of scripture and look for something to correlate with it, maybe another obscure reference, and they might end up sort of writing another story to explain more about it, which was okay because everyone knew which ones were scripture and which ones were midrash. And midrash was mostly to illustrate a point, like a moral point. So it wasn't something that people were like, oh, this is a new part of scripture. They knew it wasn't true. So fan fiction, in the same way, is adding or building on someone else's story with the understanding that it's not from the original author. Oh, okay, yeah. A good example of Midrash is the character of Lilith, who is this awesome character in Jewish mythology, and actually in other mythology too, because she was originally this Babylonian demon goddess. And, well, that can be a little bit misleading, because the Jewish Lilith was kind of a mix of several things, one of which was an obscure reference actually in the Hebrew Bible to, it like could be an owl, probably is an owl, but it could be translated as like demon too. Anyway, so this character Lilith kind of came about as this first wife of Adam. This was a newer concept. This came way after the demon goddess. But this is an example of Midrash, kind of mixing obscure references into a comprehensive character and then writing a story about it. So, how this is like fan fiction. Authors have a hard time of it because they have to write something great, work over and over to revise it, make it perfect, and make it credible. And no matter what you do, it's going to end up on fanfiction.net and somebody's going to write a slash about it. If you've been to fanfiction.net, you know what slash is. Don't play dumb. So, I think there's a attitude of respect in the internet community overall. The people understand like what's canon, as they call it, ironically, and what isn't. I think people need to understand that same concept when it comes to scripture, because a lot of people try to use text that is midrash against the credibility of scripture, which is kind of dumb because usually it was written hundreds of years later. Like, for example, I've had someone, a very intelligent person, who's just not really familiar with well, with scripture, really, try to tell me that the story of Lilith as the first wife of Adam was taken out of the Hebrew Bible, but was originally in there. And I thought that didn't sound right, and I looked it up, and actually the story of Lilith as the first wife of Adam was from the alphabet of Ben Sira, which was actually written after Christ. So, yeah, that probably was not taken out of the Hebrew Bible, I'm thinking. Anyway, that's all I've got. I hope you guys have a lovely day. I know you're jealous of my glasses, but I only bought one pair. I'm sorry.